All right, thanks, Josh. Go right ahead.
Welcome, everybody, to this quarter's Utah Clean Energy Virtual Lunch and Learn. What you need to know about the Community Clean Energy Program. It's great to have you all with us today and to share what is some really exciting news and launch of an innovative clean energy program that shows some real leadership by communities across the state to bring online new clean energy resources that can power our communities. We have two great guests with us today. Councilor Dan Dugan, and also a senior staff from Salt Lake City Sustainability, Glade Sowers, with us to go into the details of the program. I won't go and I won't spoil any of the fun for later, but I'll just start by saying this is some really good news to reflect on and showing that a time I think we all need it, and also an understanding that clean energy is not just hypothetical, it's actually here and delivering for Utah communities. And it's great to see this example of Utah policymakers, local leaders demonstrating that. Um, Glade, can you go to the next slide? So for those of you who don't know me, I am Josh Kraft. I'm the Director of Government Relations for Utah Clean Energy, and I'm joined here by our amazing Communications Director, Brandy Smith, some other great folks. We are, for those of you who have not worked with us in the past, we are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization working on the broad range of initiatives to reduce emissions in our energy, buildings, and our transportation systems. We have an expert staff that works hard on those. We also are proud to convene Utah leaders under the banner of the Utah Climate and Clean Air Compact, because leadership in a conservative state, but a pragmatic and innovative state, is essential for us to make the changes that we need to make. And we are pleased to be able to talk with you about all the, as part of this series, about the work that's going on and highlight just a little bit of what's going on in our communities. I will, and I'll just say, before I formally introduce Dan and Glade, I'll just note that this is a recorded webinar, and I'll encourage everyone to put your questions in the chat. We will reserve those for Q&A at the end, and I will share those, collate and share those with our speakers. We should have plenty of time for that. I've also put in some links to some resources about the Community Clean Energy Program, both the program itself and a blog post that we did for your reference, in case you just can't wait to get all those questions answered. They're right there for you, but they're also there to share for afterwards. So we should have a really good discussion today. With that, I'll say that it's great. Our first speaker is going to be Salt Lake City Council member Dan Dugan from District 6. Dan has served on the Salt Lake City Council since 2020. And among other duties, he is the chair of the Utah Renewable Energy Communities Board, working to facilitate all the nuts and bolts of this program. And then he'll be followed by Glade Sowers. Glade is the Senior Energy and Climate Program Manager for Salt Lake City Sustainability, and has been one of the key staffers in really getting this program, the Community Clean Energy Program, to work both on a policy and state regulatory level. So we're pleased to have both of them with us. And with that, Dan, I'm going to hand the baton to you.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for the introductions. And thank you, Brandy, also for putting on these virtual lunches. This is fantastic to do this. It's great to continue to keep the people informed on what we're doing and to keep everybody up to speed. And I appreciate everyone participating, and I really look forward to hearing Glade and your questions at the end. I just have a short introduction. It might be a refresher for some, but just kind of like a quick overview of who and why we started this program, and two real challenges that we faced in the past, and one of the challenges we're continuing to face. But Glade will touch on the most of that. That's in a little bit. So the URC, the Utah Renewable Communities, was formed from House Bill 411 back in 2019. We took shape in 2021. And the idea was that to provide an interlocal cooperative for communities of like minds to come together with one voice to work with Rocky Mountain Power on procuring new, clean, renewable energy by 2030. And that was our simple goal. I love it. It was a very simple, clean line goal. Originally, there was 23 communities that had that same vision across through either a resolution or an ordinance that said, hey, we also want to meet that. By 2022, 18 communities had signed on. And that was the start of the initial push to the program. In 2024, the legislators changed some of the wording on the bill, and that opened the door for more communities to join the program. Midvale joined the program. There was others that wanted to join, but Midvale joined. It was a quick need and a fast reaction on their part. They joined and turned into 19 communities. In late 2025, the Rocky Mountain Power submitted our application to the Public Service Commission. And in December of 2025, the Public Service Commission heard our application. And in March of this year, 2026, they approved our application. That created a shot clock of 60 days for communities to sign on and continue with the program. 16 communities signed on after that 60 days, and that's where we are now. We represent about 20% of Rocky Mountain Power's energy customers, and Rocky Mountain Power, if you represent about 80% of Utah's grid. They're the provider for about 80% of the Utah's electrical needs. So that's the who we are, and the why is that we all wanted clean energy. I won't go into the details of all the challenges and the successes we've had over the last 5 years, but I just want to touch on two. The first one, and this may be obvious to some people, but it wasn't so obvious to me in the beginning, is that it takes a lot longer to get something off the ground than you can believe, especially when you have to start from scratch. And the second challenge of that little bullet is it's even harder when one of the key players in this program isn't 100% behind it all. And they themselves have a lot of challenges moving forward. That's the first thing, because our original vision was that by the end of 2023, we would have the program up and running. We finally got the approval in March of 2026. So that was the first thing. The second biggest challenge we faced is that originally Rocky Mountain, the program was to procure clean energy after Rocky Mountain Power had selected their clean energy sources. Back in the day, Rocky Mountain Power's IRP had a timeline of additional clean energies throughout the years, and they were going to slowly increase their clean energy resources to their grid. We were going to be offsetting that for our grid, and we were just going to take whatever they didn't use. We were going to use it for our program, and it would be a lot easier because it was a lot cleaner for us. Well, in September 23, they indefinitely suspended any procurement of new clean energy, which threw us out on the backside because now we didn't have a place to get energy. So we pivoted. We worked hard to build our own RFP. We got 14 bidders. We down-selected those 14 bidders to the top 4. And right now, Glade will kind of go into the process where we are now of down-selecting the final bidders and vetting those bidders at this point. So that has been taking up the brunt of our work, is to down-selecting that final resource. Now you got to realize that we don't want to go too big. We want to stay small as far as the number of resources. We got to have the first resources, and we have a long process to go through. Glade will talk about that quite a bit here, and I'm going to leave it there. We had a lot of great successes, and I won't go into the details there. But those are the two biggest challenges I want to kind of start with, and that's where we're sitting at this point. And finally, I just have to say my thanks to Utah Clean Energy, my thanks to you on this call for being here and being interested in this. But my really, I'm so forever grateful and in awe of the team that we've built on this program. They've been incredible. Their perseverance, their dedication to this program, and their dedication to this vision is just amazing. And I've been so grateful to have the opportunity to work with them on this program. It's been awesome. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Glade and look forward for your questions. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Josh, you ready for me? Okay. Thanks, Counselor. Make sure these slides are advancing. Can you see that okay? Okay. I'm going to just walk through kind of an overview of the program, kind of the nuts and bolts, and I'm going to just tag onto the tail end of what Counselor Dugan mentioned with the why pursue clean energy. Then I'll tell you a little bit about what the program is, who can participate, and then the timeline for the program and the next steps. So I think we're the whole fact that we call it the Clean Energy Program, Community Clean Energy Program, is the big hint here. Obviously, this program provides us an opportunity for cleaner air, for a lower carbon footprint. It helps address water use in a state that really has challenges with water, and it helps support our economy, green jobs, and economic opportunity, oftentimes in rural Utah. Just as kind of a highlight on that, this was from the state of Utah's Beehive Emission Reduction Plan. This is a look at our greenhouse gas emissions over the past couple of decades. And as you can see, electric generation is still the largest portion of our greenhouse gas emissions. In 2022, it was just over 34% of our total emissions, followed by transportation, industry, buildings, agriculture, et cetera, as you can see. And this matters because if you're going to go after, if you want to clean up your emissions, electricity is really critical to a lot of this. And it's doubly so because for transportation, for some of our industry and our buildings, a lot of the measures you would pursue to reduce greenhouse gas emissions are to actually reduce or rather to electrify your different types of equipment. So your cars and trucks, to move to things like heat pumps in homes and businesses. And so the grid becomes even more important, right? Because you have to have those emissions cleaned up so that electrification benefit accomplishes what you're looking for. Yeah.
That's super exciting news. Just quickly, I just saw a chat that someone asked about not seeing the slides, and I can see the slides, but I just wanted to have a quick, just to make sure. I think most people can. If you can give me a quick thumbs up for just to look. Okay, just to make sure I was not missing the good content, and I'll let you get to the regular scheduled programming. Apologies.
It should say clean energy popularity on the screen. Okay.
It does.
Yeah, and so to that end, obviously, if it brings about the benefits we talked about on the previous slides, it's not surprising that clean energy is popular with Utahns and across the country. A recent study by Utah State University found a strong preference for renewable energy, with support for solar at 73% and wind at 72%. And this has been reflected in many of our communities in Utah Renewable Communities. They have made this priority clear with their councils and elected officials. And so many of our communities have actually developed either goals or resolutions, things of that nature, trying to improve our emissions, trying to improve our renewable energy footprint for our communities. But as Rocky Mountain Power customer communities, communities served by Rocky Mountain Power, we just haven't had a pathway historically, short of municipalization or something like that, to actually achieve something different than what Pacific Corp's normal planning process brings about. And for a while, that was maybe okay because the company was making some better progress, at least in not so long ago, as Councilmember Dugan mentioned. They had a plan for a very large build out of renewables. Their situation has changed for various reasons, and so it's all the more important that we have an opportunity to advance the development of renewables and clean energy options for our communities. So that led to, as Councilmember Dugan mentioned, the passage of House Bill 411 in 2019. And as he mentioned, it was a long slog since then. But I want to remind folks it passed the House by a 2-to-1 margin and the Senate by nearly a 4-to-1 margin. This was something that was supported at the legislature. It was a bipartisan process. And importantly, Pacific Corp was involved. We wanted to find a pathway that worked for the communities, that still kept the utility in the mix. There are other examples throughout the country where a community choice aggregation or other types of programs. There have been efforts elsewhere to municipalize from an investor-owned utility, and that is not a pretty process. And so this was kind of one of those Utah way examples where a path was forged, and we ended up with the program. So I want to tell you more about the program, what it is. In its most basic form, it's to address the gap between clean energy supply and clean energy and demand. As I mentioned, folks do want clean energy options. The program allows for Rocky Mountain Power customers to access increasing amounts of clean energy higher than the grid currently supplies. And in 2025, in 2025, the Rocky Mountain Power grid was at about 39% renewable energy across its 6-state service territory. And so the idea is to try to fill the gap to get us all the way to clean energy. And so we would be adding new resources to the grid to power our homes and businesses. And to look at that a little bit more, the concept, many of our communities, I think it was 15 of the 16, have adopted a net 100% renewable energy goal. And generally all support this concept. The idea is this is a representation, a simplified representation of Rocky Mountain Power's existing grid. And it's important to note that they do have some clean energy resources already. They have Pacific Northwest Hydro, Wyoming wind, increasingly solar in Utah. And so there's like I said, right now about 39% of the electricity on the grid is from renewable resources, but we have these existing kind of legacy fossil fuel fleets, coal-fired and gas-fired power plants, represented by orange here. And the idea with our program is to build out additional renewable energy resources for our participants to take over. That's represented in green here from the orange. And I have this listed in phases. This is just to represent the concept of time. Ideally, we would like to meet our goal by 2030. Some of the situation at the national level and policy changes, things like that, have made that a little bit more challenging. We can maybe get into that in the Q&A potentially, but we are still aiming for that net 100% by 2030 or thereafter. As Councilmember Dugan mentioned, we now have 16 communities who have adopted the ordinance by the required deadline, and that gives us a green light to move ahead with program implementation, which I'll tell you about here in a moment. So what does that mean? Who's eligible? In my previous slide, I mentioned the who's eligible to participate. Really, it's practically all of the customers in our 16 participating communities. I I say almost all because for residential customers who participate in the Schedule 135 net metering program, that's the legacy net metering for rooftop solar, they are not allowed to participate, but all other rate schedules are eligible. So Councilmember Dugan mentioned that the PSC approved the program on March 4th. And our 16 communities adopted within that 90-day required window. And one of the important things that the PSC did when they approved the program is they approved an initial rate for both residential and non-residential customers. And so that for residential customers, it was set at a flat monthly rate of $4, inclusive of about 10 cents of a surcharge set aside to cover the costs for qualifying low-income customers to participate. For non-residential customers, the rate was set on a volumetric basis, so just a little bit over 0.6 of a penny per kilowatt hour, plus 12 cents per month surcharge to cover the cost of qualifying low-income customers. And the impacts we're seeing from this, based on historical bills, varies between about 4 to 9%, a premium of 4 to 9% for participating customers. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to look at that a little bit more in detail. Let's take a residential customer. That one's pretty simple. It's a $4 flat premium. And so a typical user uses around 675 kilowatt hours per month. For a current monthly bill of just under $85, with the program, you'd be at $88.48 a month, that $4 flat rate, and that's a bill increase of 4.7%. Moving on to a small business customer example, that's rate schedule 23, and this is actually from a local coffee house who volunteered a year of their bills. So this one's actually based on real usage to give you a feel for what this looks like. They used on a monthly basis 3,377 kilowatt hours for a monthly bill of just under $530 per month. Their new bill goes up to $550.48. That's $20.69 per month for this coffee house to participate. And in their specific case, the bill impact then is a 3.9% increase. Finally, I want to give you a large business customer, rate schedule 6 example. This is quite a bit larger, so over 91,000 kilowatt hours a month. Their current bill is $10,411. The new bill, $10,929. That's a $518 per month premium. That's a 5% bill increase. And then I just wanted to make a comment about future rates. I try to be careful to mention that was the initial rate. These are the initial rates that the Public Service Commission approved. As with all rates, they're subject to change, and that's the purview of the Public Service Commission. And they will, the way the program is designed to work is there will be an annual report that Rocky Mountain Power files each year, and it'll take into consideration all the costs and benefits of the program. And there may be adjustments over time. The commission, in their approval, went out of their way, I'd say, to point out that they, based on the filing that Rocky Mountain Power did, the program application, that they anticipate customers to be making a decision about participating in the program based on rates that are likely at the higher end of what is likely. There's no guarantees that they'll go down over time, but the way the program is designed is that our resource funding is kind of front loaded. We almost have to develop a down payment to build these new resources. And so we intentionally asked the commission for a rate at the higher end of our comfort zone to be able to front load this build out of resources. And so we're hopeful that rates won't increase over time, But again, a caveat is that's really up to the Public Service Commission and the actual costs and participation levels of the program. So here I wanted to pivot to just some logistics and talk about the next steps associated with the program, and also to talk a little bit more about the nature of the program. This program was designed from the outset to make clean energy the standard for the participating communities. And as such, it was created as an opt-out program where all customers are opted in when the community adopted the program ordinance, and then they have the ability to choose whether or not to participate, and they can opt out if they so choose. And how much total renewable energy we build out through the program is going to depend on that participation level. So I guess I'd say participation is easy by design. It's the easy button, as we've sort of joked. It's if you want to participate, all you have to do is stay in. And then a little bit more about the basics of the program. Importantly, the customers remain a Rocky Mountain Power customer. The program costs are just represented as a simple line item on your electricity bill. Your utility service is still reliable. It's not impacted. You don't have to wait for us to build out the resource. You don't have to build a resource on your own rooftop. It's very, very straightforward, which is part of the real appeal of the program. So the way this is going to work, the next big stage of the program, right now we're working on the logistics of getting Rocky Mountain Power's billing system set up to be able to handle an opt-out program. They don't have legacy programs like this, so their entire billing system needed to be upgraded. We need to develop 1-800 numbers, all the kinds of backbone you would need to stage an opt-out program. And we will now soon be moving into, in late 2026, a noticing period. And I'll tell you a little bit about how this is going to work. So around the beginning of November, we'll start a 60-day noticing window where customers will receive first a paper notice, and then depending on whether they're either receive their bills in paper format or electronically, the paper format folks will get a second notice letter. These are independent from your power bill, by the way. The electronic folks who have opted into electronic billing, their second notice will come in the form of an email, but it'll include the same information. It's going to explain what the program is, what the impacts are, what the opportunity for opting out of the program looks like and how to do that, and termination fees that apply when they do. So at the end of that 60-day window, around January 1st, we'll enter into a period where the rates will begin to be charged to your electric bill. So I mentioned that $4 per month for residential customers will start showing up on your bill. And you'll have an additional 4 months thereafter to opt out of the program if you want without paying any kind of termination fee. So a combined 6 months, that first 60-day window, plus another 4 months. That 4-month period is interesting because you'll be able to sort of test drive the rate, right? So see how it impacts your bill and see if you're still comfortable with it. And then by about May 1st, that's the end of that 4-month period. And after that, you can still opt out. If you just decide that this isn't for you, that's okay, and you have the opportunity to opt out, but termination fees will apply after about May 1st. And for residential customers, those fees, and small businesses, those fees will be a flat $30 termination fee. For larger non-residential customers, it's going to be based on your peak usage for the previous year. And we anticipate those will be about 1 to 1.5% of your total annual electric bill costs, just to give you a sense of the size for that. And the termination fees aren't there to be punitive. They're to help stabilize program participation, because we need to know how much of a clean energy resource to build. So it helps encourage folks to make an informed decision and then hopefully we'll have our participation rates stabilized and be able to build accordingly. Our goal regarding this noticing period is to promote the program before that noticing period starts. So we're already doing a lot of work, including talking to you all today, but several opportunities. We'd love to come if you are part of a chamber or a community group would like us to come and talk more about the program. We'd love that opportunity because we want to get the word out. We don't want it to be a surprise when when these notices come out. And I would say that, staying enrolled in the program is critical to the ultimate success of the program. It helps us generate the required upfront funding that I mentioned to build our initial clean energy resources in a timely fashion. And it helps us signal to clean energy developers, to Rocky Mountain Power, the Public Service Commission, and state agencies, and the legislature, all that Utahns want clean energy and are willing to support it. And as I mentioned earlier, the more customers who remain enrolled, the larger the build out of the clean energy resource will be. So to just put this in a different kind of perspective, I wanted to show this whole timeline. We had the PSC approval back on March 4th, the ordinance adoption window of 90 days culminating, that ended on June 2nd. We're in about a 5-month preparation period, implementation preparation period, with Rocky Mountain Power working on their billing system and trying to think of all the edge cases and different scenarios that need to be addressed so that this is seamless. Once our notices go out on or around November 2nd, that'll begin that 60-day noticing window. Bill impacts will begin on or around January 1st, and folks will have we'll have another 4 months to test drive the rate. And still opt out with no cancellation fee. So a total of 6 months for no fee cancellation. And then they can cancel anytime thereafter, after about May 1st, but they will be subject to a termination fee. So I did not include some slides that, Councilmember Dugan mentioned some of the interesting challenges that we're experiencing and maybe I'd say opportunities as well. One part of the timeline I didn't include here that I could talk a little bit about. Councilor Dugan mentioned that back in the fall, we had an initial short list selected from our qualifying bids for our request for proposals. We'd narrowed that down to an initial short list of 6 projects. We've been working with the company on valuing those resources. Our participants in the program only pay the net costs of our clean energy resources. That's above the system benefits that those resources provide to all customers. And that's a complex modeling exercise to sort of estimate what those benefits to all customers are. We've gone through a few rounds of valuation. We also, as Councilor Dugan mentioned, have narrowed our short list down to a final short list. And we've been working with the developers and the company to try to decide which resource or resources to begin with our program. And so one neat thing about the way the PSC approved the program is they approved an initial rate and let us get going on collecting the revenue we need for the program while running this RFP process in parallel. And so we still don't have our final initial resource selected, but we're hopeful we can do that sometime this fall. And then depending on the participation rates we have thereafter, especially after that termination fee free window closes, we hope we'll have some stabilization in our participation rates to know, how much resource to build out. So we're starting a little on the small side. We'll build out an initial resource or 2, and then we'll add additional resources depending on the level of participation. So that's just an overview of the program. I wanted to just show you our website is utahrenewablecommunities.org. There's a lot of great information there. You can also sign up for our e-newsletter so you can learn more about the program and get updates as things additional milestones are reached. So I will stop there and turn the time back over to Josh for your questions.
It's great, and I'm going to take a moderator's privilege to just say a couple of quick things and just to clarifying questions. Just a reminder: the law passed in enabling this passed in 2019. So by my count, this is about a 7 year journey at least, and pretty exciting, and I think shows that. Particularly for such an innovative first of its kind program, this thing takes time, but it's really exciting that it is here. Councillor Dugan and Glade, can you just remind us really quickly the number of communities again that are participating? Right.
16 communities.
Great. 16 communities, and I won't name them all, but they are available on the website, which is here on this slide, but also in our chat if you want to click directly and see those. And I think just one thing that I want to say is that both Glade is sort of going through the fact that it is, because this is an innovative first of its kind program, it's a important negotiation with our utility and its current customers. And I think that shines through in a lot. And I will say that I think that a lot of there's always going to be a little bit of dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but I think that they've done a really great job of getting clarity on what the program is, how it will work. And with that, I do want to just go through, we'll start with some of the sort of mechanical questions about how the operations of the program will work, because we had some good questions there, and then I think some more general questions for you, Counselor and Glade. So Carolyn asks, is it free for low-income customers to participate?
Yes, it is. And I apologize. I had intended on, I noticed that slide was missing and I didn't get it in before the wire, but that's an important point. So I mentioned that there were these small surcharges, right around a dime a month per participating customer, that would be collected along with the program rates. Those get set into kind of a separate pool, as it were, and they provide what's known as an enhanced bill credit for qualifying low-income customers. That's customers who participate in Pacific Corps' rate schedule 3, the Home Electric Lifeline program. So those or HELP program. The HELP program already provides low-income assistance, I think up to a bill credit of about $18 for qualifying low-income customers. And those customers would be eligible to participate for free, basically subsidized by the other customers through those small surcharges each month.
Great. Josh, just real quick on that one.
Yes,
That
sir.
program, right now, there's probably about 10 to 13% of the Rocky Mountain Power customers are eligible to be part of the HELP program, but only close to 5% are actually enrolled in the program. So part of our program's mission statement is to get that word out to all the low-income, qualified low-income people that this program will be free. Their bill is going to show a charge of $4, and it's going to show a credit for $4. But they are authorized, and they're again also for them. They can terminate if they wanted to terminate. They can terminate also for free at any time. But it's a big push for us, working with all the nonprofits to get the word out for the low-income customers across the state.
And I would just add quickly that if this is something that we are trying to, we're certainly partnering with the Community Renewable Energy Agency folks on, but if you know someone who may be a low-income customer, who's a neighbor or friend in a participating community, and would just in general want to educate them about opportunities, that's really important and something that we're happy to help with. That's so important to make sure that folks are getting the assistance they need and are able to participate in this program regardless of income level without paying that slight fee.
And this is one of those things that the cost and benefits can't shift to non-participating customers. The program has to pay for those low-income, qualified low-income customers to pay for it. So we have to pay for that through the customer. That's why it's through that $4 fee that everybody else is paying.
Exactly. Suzanne asks, can you just remind us what resources are included in clean energy? What for the program?
Yeah, great question. I'll answer it in a couple different ways. So originally, this program was the Utah the Community Renewable Energy Program. The legislature in 2024 made a couple of changes. They changed it to the Community Clean Energy Program, and they added some additional eligible resource types, including demand-side management, carbon capture and sequestration, and nuclear resources. At the same time, the legislature relaxed or got rid of, rather, a requirement that the participating communities pass a resolution to reach net 100% renewable energy by 2030. But almost all of our communities by that point had already adopted that resolution, and that's the goal of our program. So even though the more energy types are eligible, we as a group of communities still have that net 100% goal in mind. The other thing I would point out is in our request for proposals that went out last summer, we requested specific energy resource types of solar, wind, geothermal, and hydroelectric. So kind of supporting what I just said. So technically more energy resource types qualify, but we have not pursued that, just to clarify.
And also to add, our RFP went out and said we want to make sure that our first resources are online by 2030. So they had to be online by 2030. And also you have to realize this is a competitive bid. So the pricing has to be there too. So it really kind of, even though the legislators added nuclear and carbon sequestrations and all these other stuff, none of that is on anyone's schedule right now to build. And the cost is prohibitive. So they're kind of like already just kind of self-selected out because they don't have the cost and they can't meet the 2030 date.
There are some resources that are eligible, in other words, that are not, the communities are not imagining including right in the scope right at this time. It makes sense.
Right.
Garth has one more question about resources: is why are traditional net metering customers excluded from participation in the program?
Well, that's a good question. It's something that this went through like a lot of bills do, a lot of negotiation, and I think I'm just going to spitball here a little bit, and I could be just way off, but I think there's a sense out there that the original net metering customers have a pretty good deal, and I don't know why. Maybe it's as simple as that they're unlikely to do so because the current rate is really good for them, and so likely they would continue to participate in their own program. In fact, I will mention that you could opt out of your net metering program and participate in Schedule 100, our program. So that's still they're allowed to do that, but it's an either or choice. But I think for most folks who have that old original net metering set up, it's just unlikely people would pursue it. So why the legislature made that decision, I can't say, but yeah.
But if you are on a newer solar arrangement like Schedule 137, where you're on the export credit rate, you can participate if you and it's just the old Schedule 135 customers aren't eligible, but you all are getting a good deal and also providing clean power to the grid. So that's all the good.
Yeah, and why someone might do that? Maybe they didn't fully size their rooftop solar sufficient to cover all of their electricity use, and this would be a way to fill the gaps. If you have if that's an important goal to reach for your home or your business.
I'm going to go to a question from Taylor. It's will all businesses in Salt Lake City and in the eligible portions of Salt Lake County be auto-enrolled in the program? And
yes, that's so with the adoption of the program ordinance by each of the participating communities, including Salt Lake County is kind of unique because it's the unincorporated portions of the county. They have opted all their residents and businesses into the program. And then you have the opt-out windows I described to you before, 6 months to opt out with no termination fee, and then termination fee would apply thereafter. One other thing I should point out that I didn't mention is that for large businesses that use 1 megawatt of power or more, they will not get a letter or an email. They're actually going to get an in-person or virtual visit through their regional business manager with the company. So they will be able to be walked through their decision, because obviously they're much larger users, and the impacts for their bills are more substantial, and so that was wired into the program.
Thank you. Plenty of notice.
Yes.
At a high level, Erica was asking about what kind of drop-off or opt-out you're anticipating. And just at a high level, thinking about those different classes of customers, what are you anticipating, or what are you foreseeing there in terms of what your expectations are?
Yeah, that's a good question. There were some surveys that were conducted early on, and usually I have this right off the top of my head, but when I saw the question in the chat, it kind of bumped my memory a little bit. But I think the split was about 80% residential, 30% small and medium commercial, and about 5% for industrial customers staying in the program. And that would it results in about a 39% anticipated uptake on a kilowatt hour basis. And then one thing I'll point out is, we had 19 eligible communities when the PSC passed this in March. And as you know, we had a few communities drop out, 16 remained. And so that dropped our eligible, we ended up with about 94.5% of the eligible kilowatt hours still participating in the program. So really good critical mass still. And so hopefully those projections will hold, and we'll have good participation.
And we base the cost of the program on those numbers, 80%, 30%, and 5%. So we knew there was probably be a smaller percentage of the bigger customers, but we were expecting about 80%. And we kind of got that through the surveys we came up with, and also pricing what that $4 would look like, and how much we should charge, and how much we could charge to keep it viable.
And I'm going to group a couple other sort of questions about rates, the program rates together. And so, Glade, you mentioned this. The rate on what it will look like on a residence or business's bills will say something around charge for Schedule 100, correct?
Correct.
So just for transparency's sake, everyone knows it'll say something like Schedule 100. That's the program. I have a question from Calvin about, in basically ensuring that the utility will be using this money for renewable energy infrastructure as opposed to some sort of other purposes.
Yeah, great question, and it makes sense that folks would want to know that. And I guess the first thing I would remind everyone is that this is all being governed by the Public Service Commission, which really scrutinizes rates. And so part of the program application has sort of it's all mapped out in terms of what can be paid and in what order. So I mentioned before that that surcharge, that 10 to 12 cents per month for the different customer classes, for low-income customers to participate for free, that's taken right off the top. And then there are some costs that we have to pay back. Right now, the company is already incurring costs to get the program up and running. So we need to sort of pay that back. The next item is to cover ongoing administrative expenses. And then then we go into building up our reserves to build these clean energy resources. And so all of that is going to be tracked throughout, and has to be filed in that annual report I mentioned before. And there's, it's not allowed for the company to repurpose this funding for somewhere else. In fact, statutorily, there can be no shifting of costs or benefits between participants and non-participants in the program. And so all of that needs to be carefully managed and will be. So
on that front, and then when Bela is asking when the first resources will come online, I see that someone's answered the question in the chat, but I might as well have everyone hear, Glade and Dan, what you're expecting.
Yeah, we're looking at, again, it depends on, right now we're in the process of negotiating PPAs with the company, with the bidders, and these PPA, power purchase agreements, will have certain requirements that need to be met before they take effect. So they could be executed maybe this fall, let's say, for example. But part of when the resource will actually get built is going to hinge on our participation rates once we start in January. I realize I'm in the weeds a little bit here, but the more participants we have, the more we can build up those reserves to get the resources off the ground. But we are looking right now at the 2028 to 2029 time period to get our initial resources built.
These are great questions. We'll plan to stop at about 5 till, but Glade, if it's okay, I'm going to ask you a few more. So let's keep going. And Gary's asking, as part of the build out of the resources, who will cover the interconnection costs to the system upgrade and interconnection costs to the grid?
This is a timely question. One of the things that we have that we have to address as we're negotiating with the project developers and the company is the interconnection and transmission costs. And we've been quoted a PPA price for each project, and I mentioned that the company has estimated the system benefit associated with the projects. There's a process that happens once you have your PPA in place, where there's a very long, I think it's about a 270-day window where there's a designated network resource request that goes out, and the company has to study all of what's involved to get these resources on the grid. We knew we didn't have time to wait for that, and so we did some transmission consulting studies for each of our initial shortlist, well, actually for our final shortlist projects, to try to anticipate the likely outcome of that more formal process, that DNR assessment that comes later. And what comes out of that is whether there are any incremental transmission upgrades that need to be developed to facilitate the bringing on these resources. We're seeing some challenges there, and we're working through that. And a lot of that's just going to be a matter of your contract negotiation. There's some wiggle room as to who pays for what, and there's some different options you can explore for how to address that. If the communities bear those incremental transmission costs, which on some level it seems likely you would, because there could be no shifting of costs and benefits, that'll increase our bottom line for our net program costs. So that's part of all of what we're talking about right now in our conversations with our final short list and the company. But we're hopeful we can come up with a reasonable solution that is cost effective.
And well put. I'm going to ask one more audience question, which is just how Carolyn's asking, how will the communities be partnering to educate residents about the launch of the program? And if you can also, I think, throw in there any ways in which people here can be helpful to have that education process and that support process.
Great question. So we all, we're a collection of 16 communities, and we have a communications plan that we have kind of been in the process of updating, and we are going to have our communities use their various communication services and functions to get the word out now that we are heading into the noticing period. We've also are developing several assets like window clings, stickers, yard signs, things like that to help get the word out about the program. We want to engage where we can with community groups, community councils, chambers of commerce, uh, things not unlike what we're doing here today, talking to you all to get the word out. We also, as part of our program, had to develop a low income plan, and we will be working with each community has different low income advocacy groups that we'll be working with to help get the word out about the help program that this the options for opting out and all of that. We have also partnered with Weber State University's Spark Sustainability Shop. They're going to help us try to get more folks enrolled into the help program so that we can have more eligible customers. So we're approaching it from many angles. And Dan, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that.
No, I think you hit it. It's really just every city doing the best they can to get all their communities involved and noticed. We're working with the Business Advisory Board in our city here, getting all the small businesses to understand the program, working with the larger customers themselves. When I'm the chair of the Community Renewable, or excuse me, the CRA for the board. So when I'm talking to developers, I'm saying you guys need to participate in this program. I'm pushing it across the board on all community councils, and that's what we have to do because every community has to do their part in that area because it's their communities and their involvement. But it's a hard push, but it's a required push. So thanks.
Yeah, and I want to say that the program, we would encourage everyone here. I know that the communities will be, the energy agency and the staff here are going to share out information about how to stay enrolled, how to educate with your friends and communities. I know there's a coalition which includes a number of really great environmental and clean energy partners who are doing so. I know there will likely be some yard signs available to share that you want to stay in. And given that this program, Glenn had a great question about how it will affect our RMPs mix overall, and it was a great answer, which is about 500 megawatts of one pretty large power plant's worth of clean energy added to our grid through this program. And so it's really such an important angle to achieving our goals. And also to some of the goals of the 2034 Winter Olympic Games and the community. So your help is great. I want to say thank you to all of you for your time, your energy, and your support, and for your great questions. I know we didn't get to all of them, but it's great to have you with us. And most importantly, thank you to Councillor Dugan and Glade and to everyone with the staff of these programs. You are doing incredible work on an innovative program, and we're so grateful for your time. Support these folks and do some great work. So thank you. Quick round of virtual applause here, and we're gonna wrap for today.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Brandy.
Thanks all.